We tend to think of history as this settled story, right? A collection of facts that are all set in stone. But what if some of the most shocking chapters are the ones that were buried on purpose? What if the stories that were dismissed for decades as just wild rumors were actually true? Well, today we're going to peel back the curtain and dive into that hidden side of history. And that quote right there, hours of forbidden history that feels illegal to know, doesn't that just nail it? It captures the feeling perfectly. It feels kind of illicit because, frankly, this is information that was never, ever supposed to see the light of day. We're talking about real events that were officially denied or locked away for years. And that's really the question we're digging into today. This isn't about, unproven speculation or just spitballing ideas. No. This is about taking claims that were once way out on the fringe and showing how they were eventually proven to be stone-cold fact, all thanks to declassified documents and official testimony. So, let's be super clear about what we're talking about here. We're calling it suppressed history. These are not conspiracy theories. They are conspiracy facts. These are events that actually happened, but were deliberately kept out of the public record, sometimes for entire generations. All right, let's kick things off with a story that honestly sounds like it was ripped straight out of a political thriller. But this isn't fiction. This took place right in the heart of American democracy, a secret plot to overthrow a sitting U.S. president. Just try to imagine hearing this back in the 1930s. It sounds completely insane, right? A secret group of super wealthy, powerful industrialists all conspiring to stage a coup in the United States. For most people, it was just dismissed as fantasy, the paranoid ramblings of a few cranks. But for a plot this wild to even get off the ground, you have to understand the world it was born into. And things were chaotic. The Great Depression had absolutely shattered the U.S. economy. FDR's New Deal policies were seen by some of these powerful business leaders as a direct threat to capitalism. And at the same time, you look across the Atlantic and you see fascism on the rise as this new model for imposing order. And look, this wasn't just some half-baked idea cooked up in a smoky room. No, they had a very real four-step plan. First, they'd get a respected, popular general to be their frontman. Then, they'd raise a massive private army. Then, they'd march on the Capitol to seize power. And finally, they'd basically turn the presidency into a puppet role. So the big question is, how does something like this go from being a crazy theory to actual documented history? Well, it all blew up when the very man they tried to recruit, a decorated Marine Corps Major General named Smedley Butler, went public and testified before Congress. A congressional committee investigated and came to a stunning conclusion. The plot was real. Just like that, the theory became sworn testimony. Okay, so from a secret plot in America, let's jump across the pond to post-war Britain for our next story. This time, we're looking at a top-secret military experiment that put everyday people directly in the line of fire, all without their knowledge or consent. So on the surface, this thing called Operation Cauldron looked totally normal, just routine military activity. But the classified reality? Oh, it was something else entirely. It was horrifying. The British government was secretly testing one of the deadliest diseases in human history as a weapon. And when you look at the declassified details, it's just chilling. They used live plague bacteria. Yeah, the same thing that caused the Black Death. They packed it into bombs and set them off at sea. But here's where it goes from a military test to something much darker. Their experiment didn't just involve a naval ship. It also involved a civilian fishing boat that just happened to sail right through the bacteria cloud. And this is the part that's just so hard to wrap your head around. The military and the scientists, they knew the civilian crew had been exposed. But instead of warning them, they just watched them, secretly. They treated these fishermen as unwitting human guinea pigs in a biological weapons test. The crew just went home to their families, completely clueless about the deadly danger they were in. Okay, so let's just pause for a second. We've got a foiled coup and a secret plague test. Two totally different stories, right? From different countries, different eras, but they both point to this really powerful lesson about history, about power, and about the nature of truth itself. So what can we take away from all of this? Well, for one, the official history we get is often just incomplete, and our understanding of the past is always changing as new things get declassified. It also shows us that the powerful can and do operate with hidden agendas. And maybe most importantly, it's a huge reminder that questioning official stories isn't just cynical, it's essential. It's how you hold power accountable. So look, the bottom line is this. The business plot and Operation Cauldron, they weren't fiction. They weren't just theories. These were documented realities, testified to in front of Congress and laid out in black and white in declassified government files. They were real conspiracies, successfully hidden from all of us, hiding just beneath the surface of what we thought was history. And that really leaves us with one last, kind of unsettling thought, doesn't it? When you look at the world around us right now, with all the stories and claims flying around, it just makes you wonder, which of the things being dismissed today as totally crazy or unbelievable will future generations look back on as just another declassified, documented fact?